everybody, this is Della from The Beauty of Play. We just finished our Renaissance unit and I'm going to go over the materials and resources and projects that we used for this unit. So the spine of our unit was a book called The Age of Discovery by Charles Kovacs. We did not use this for the Explorers unit when we went over Christopher Columbus and some of the other explorers because I felt like it was too Eurocentric. But about halfway through, it starts talking about the Renaissance. And since that was specific to Europe, this was a good resource for that. We really enjoy his writing and his storytelling. It was engaging and entertaining, and I recommend this book for the Renaissance. So in addition to that book, we also studied individuals, beginning with Leonardo da Vinci, my favorite. And to read about Leonardo da Vinci, the book that I chose was by Diane Stanley. She does great history and biography books. The illustrations are just gorgeous, but even more important than that, her storytelling is engaging and interesting. They're great books to read. So Diane Stanley with Leonardo da Vinci is the one that we chose to read for him. I also got the book Leonardo, Beautiful Dreamer, but at that point we had read the other two sources that I mentioned about Leonardo da Vinci, and it started to become repetitive. So we did not actually use this book, but again, it's full of information. The illustrations are beautiful, and I would still recommend it, even though we didn't end up using it. The next book is Journal of Inventions, and this is supposed to mimic Leonardo da Vinci's notebooks. This is a pop-up book and an interactive book, which I love. It is full of all kinds of information, but we did not end up reading it word for word. We just pick and chose what we read. And you can see how interactive it is here. It also has all kinds of these fold-out flaps on the sides that has other information and other interactive things. So this was a really fun book. I found it when I was searching for the Leonardo da Vinci books. In addition to Leonardo, we also studied Michelangelo. And again, I went with Diane Stanley. This one also does a beautiful job telling about Michelangelo's life and also has beautiful illustrations. It goes into some of the rivalry between Leonardo and Michelangelo as well, which was really interesting. Okay, the next one that we did was Galileo. And if you were familiar with the Who Was or the What Was series, these are a series of biography and information on places or events. They are mid-elementary level. The writing in them is simple and easy to read, but it is full of information. And so we use this as a read aloud for some of our study, and it was a very good book. The other book that we used for Galileo was Starry Messenger. This is a picture book with beautiful illustrations. And the fun part about this was that it would have quotes from Leonardo on the sidelines. And other sources during his time, like this one here. That one was really interesting, and I really enjoyed the illustrations in this one as well. For Queen Elizabeth, we used Diane Stanley again, and same information. She does a great job with the storytelling, beautiful illustrations. There is a newer version of this book with a different cover, but it is the same story. And then we used Martin Luther by Paul Meyer for a biography and information on Martin Luther. This also is a very beautiful illustrations in this book. And it did a decent job with the information of the life and times of Martin Luther. So those are the books that we used for resources. In addition to that, those that we used as reference, we used this Famous Figures in the Renaissance, this went off really well. It has a series of paper dolls that you cut out and use brackets. So brackets have to be purchased for this. And I did purchase a hole punch specific for this because it has a smaller hole. We did not do all of them, but they were easy enough to cut and put together while I was reading, and she did several of the ones. They also have a short little biography in the front of each of the characters, and they had Johannes Gutenberg, Christopher Columbus, Elizabeth I, Leonardo da Vinci, Michelangelo, Martin Luther, Henry VIII, Elizabeth I, William Shakespeare, Galileo in this. So it covered quite a few people. She only made a handful of people. I think this is Michelangelo, and then Leonardo da Vinci, Johannes Gutenberg, and Henry VIII were the ones that she's made from this so far. And this was also used as reference. This was recommended by another homeschooler to me. And this is just famous family trees. It only had, I think, Queen Elizabeth that we were looking at. But it also had Lorenzo da Vinci. So we went through his line too. But it has several famous, here's Queen Elizabeth's family tree, several famous people throughout history. And it was a really nice way to keep up with everybody and how they were related to one another. So this was a resource. It was just a reference that we used. In addition to that, we were doing art study every day, and these are Go Fish cards made by Birdcage, and it is Renaissance artist. When you open it up, it comes up with a little book that goes over each of the artists and just a general information about the Renaissance. And then it comes with a deck of cards. Each artist has 5 or 6 cards. I think it's 6 cards. And then each card from the artist will have a piece of the artwork. There's only one of each piece. We played it Go Fish collecting all 6 pieces. It can be done different ways. And then it has one set with the Renaissance. So the artists that were included in this are Michelangelo, Raphael, Leonardo da Vinci, Fra Angelico, and Sandro Botticelli. And I will say, just as a caveat, there are some pieces with nudity in them. So if your children are sensitive to that, or if you are sensitive to that, you might want to preview it. I think that there may be enough that you could just take a couple out of each card, each of the artists, and it still be a playable deck. But we love this. This was something that we played almost every day, And the idea for me behind this was to bring familiarity with the different artists and their work. And this worked great for that, in addition to our daily art study, Charlotte Mason type art study. Okay, 2 CDs that we used. Who in the World Was the Secretive Printer? The Story of Johannes Gutenberg. This is narrated by Jim Weiss. Jim Weiss is a great narrator. Our computer does not have a CD player anymore, but we do have an external DVD player that we use. So that's how we listen to those. And the other one that I used was Master of the Renaissance, which is also narrated by Jim Weiss. And that also was a great story. We did a couple projects. One was we made our own telescope out of 2 paper rolls, and I will put a link for that in the blog post. And then we also purchased this kit of Leonardo da Vinci's helicopter. It's the aerial screw, and this was great. It took us a few days put together. You do need glue, but it was simple enough for us to work together and it wasn't frustrating or difficult. And I'll just show you on the instructions. Obviously made by a homeschooler, cracked me up. Every few sections they would put this little symbol right here and say snack time. It was pretty funny, but it was satisfying to put together, not frustrating or difficult like some of the projects can be. And this was the final product that we put together. The other thing was that although it didn't actually fly, it is functional, and the gears do work, which was a big plus for us. So that's what we used for the Renaissance.